right. Well, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Kasim. And our guest today is Georges, and he's the founder of Telegram Cookies. So I guess, Georges, if you want to go and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your story and your brand, how you got started and got the idea for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm George. I'm originally French and kind of moved to the US many years ago now and studied my career in software engineering and moved to product management. And now I'm a baker, I guess. About 6 months ago, a little more than 6 months ago, I studied Telegram cookies and we do personalized cookies. So essentially we stamp custom messages on your cookies. So customers have been sending those typically as gifts, so to say, happy birthday, get well, or some like funny inside jokes. So we bake the order, we stamp the message, and we ship it in a eco-friendly packaging. So that's in a nutshell, that's what the business does. As I said, it's only been a little more than 6 months. So it's fairly new business, but we just joined a commercial kitchen a few weeks ago, so we're trying to scale up a little bit right now.
That's awesome. So what gave you this idea, like there was this inspiration to start Telegram Cookies?
Yeah, I was trying to find a good gift for people a little hard to shop for, like people that might not be the closest to you, like neighbors or coworkers, or maybe some like slightly remote friends, people you might not know what they're into. So you kind of have to get them something that is as universally appealing as you can get. So like a cookie, a lot of people are gonna like a cookie, so it's not gonna go to waste. But I didn't just uh do like a food item. It needed, in my view, to be a little bit personalized, just for the gift to be a little bit more thoughtful. Though you might not know what those people are into, you still want the gift to be meaningful and memorable for them. So that's where the kind of the cookie came, and then the custom messages idea came on top of that. And then finally the last kind of particularity of our cookies is that they ship in an eco-friendly packaging, and that part is just about, it's 2023 and starting a business. Shipping stuff around the US that is not eco-friendly felt a little wrong, so that's why we started to do that.
That's cool. So I guess as of right now, what does a typical day look like for you?
It's so many different small tasks. It goes I'm more or less a one-man show, and so everything from like health permit is a big one. It's working with the city of Boston to get the health permit to be able to produce the production itself, in like tweaking the recipe, figuring out the best way to stamp the messages, and then all those like insurance and food distributors, and like, so essentially all that to say, every day I have a list of like, I don't know, 15, 20 like seemingly random tasks that I have to do. So there's not a lot of structure right now, to answer your question.
That makes sense. So I guess as of right now, what are your goals in terms of Telegram Cookie for the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so we're going through a rebranding right now, which we're hoping to complete by like August, September, something like that. So we're going to do kind of a soft launch around that time, August and September. And the real goal is to have a great holiday season. So for gift, and particularly for like cookies, like the holiday is kind of the big season. So I'm hoping to make to get into specific like $10,000 of sale in the month of December. And so after that, kind of keep growing.
Awesome. So as of right now, how are you finding your customers? Are you running ads, just as more like organic reach at this time?
It's a good question. I try a few different things. So I tried social media, paid social ads. I try some SEO, and I'm just now starting to do some PR. So I would say social media itself has been good to engage the community and all of that. It hasn't been particularly paid social media ads haven't been super effective for my business specifically. I see good click-through rate, but it's hard to, translate that into sales. And even when I do, like the cost of paid social is such that for a low margin item like mine, it's really financially it's hard to make it work. So I'm still going to do some social media content because that's fun and that's a good way to keep in touch with your audience. But I think I'm not going to focus on the paid aspect so far for the next few weeks a month, and instead I'm putting more effort into SEO, which is particularly interesting for our brand because of the customized nature of the messages. I can have like longer tail keywords campaigns, like 50 years wedding anniversary with like funny message just specifically for that keywords. And so SEO is an interesting thing that I'm putting more effort into. And finally, PR is something that I'm just starting to do. And so far, based on just a few days and a few reaching out, is promising. So we'll see.
That's exciting. So I guess what are some of the current trends that you're seeing in the market when it comes to, food and e-commerce? We talked to lots of e-commerce founders. So just curious just what you've seen like in the market right now.
But that, I mean, that's not exactly a new thing, but I think people are more and more um pay more and more attention to the story behind the brand and like, who started it, why they started it. And even if it's not necessarily a try to change the world kind of story, but like, is it kind of an honest, like independent food person who's trying to like produce something great, and so you kind of want to support those initiatives. So I'm part of a program called Commonwealth Kitchen that essentially kind of mentor people like myself, like food entrepreneurs like myself, and like give them all the tools to apply to the permit and to do marketing and just like teach them a lot of those things and give them access to a community. And so I'm exposed to a lot of people who are trying to do a similar thing as me. And it's tough, particularly in like retail. It's really hard. And so having that authenticity and that story behind the brand can go a long way, I find.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess as of right now, what is priority number one? Like what is screaming is the most important thing for Telegram cookies?
Yeah, the practical priority right now is because I moved facility, I'm applying to new health permits. So right now I'm very focused on, getting the new kind of production up and running. So being able to produce from that new facility is my number one goal. So, but that's very much like tactical at this point. Otherwise, at a higher level, the goal is, and almost always is customer acquisition. Like how do you acquire a customer? And that translates to how do you do digital marketing. And so that's, in my case, definitely more than 50% of my time is spent on thinking of customer acquisition, digital marketing, all that. So it's almost, in a way, having a great product that does taste delicious and is very exciting and fun is almost like table stake. Then once you have that, and you need that, but once you have that, it's so much more work to put into spreading the word and getting people to understand it and to try it and to come back. So it's a lot of non-food related tasks, and that's a big goal of mine.
So I guess after the health permit, after marketing, I guess like what would be next on your list in terms of priorities for you, like at this moment?
I think, I mean, honestly, those two take a lot of my time. I don't know if I have a lot of other priorities. I do, if I can make it work, so if I can make the production and acquiring the customer and all of that, like then it's a matter of evolving the brand. Like how do you grow the brand, the value of the brand? How do you maybe think of expanding your product offering and getting into, so I think of our company as a personalized gift company, maybe even more than a personalized cookie company. So what does that mean for like the next product that we're going to launch? And we're not there yet. This is not the priority number one, but hopefully if everything goes well, it will become the priority one day.
So are you focused more on B2C or B2B, like selling to corporations for holiday gifting?
That's a great question. So like from the outside, we do a lot of like B2C. So it's a very, we produce a lot of content, we reach out to folks, to like customers. And so and we market the company as, a way to have a custom message written on a cookie as a gift. So it's a really B2C messaging, But a lot of the business, as you can probably imagine, actually come from a B2C kind of relation, a B2B, sorry, relationship. So it's a lot of um, companies who throw events and want kind of a nice little like party favors um, or corporate gifts and end of year gifts or yeah, and then we also have like baby shower and stuff like that, though that turns a little bit more into the B2C again. But yeah, your intuition is right. Like there is a good amount of B2B as well.
Okay, so in terms of your customers, you mentioned getting, permits in Boston. Is it mostly folks in the Boston area right now, or is it all across the US? Like, where are most of your customers located?
It's all over the US. I'm not I'm based in near Boston, but I'm shipping all over the US from with people. We've shipped to Maine, all the way to Hawaii, Alaska, which, by the way, gave me another level of appreciation for the USPS service. It's insanely impressive that I can ship something to Alaska in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days, like, and it's kind of almost like guarantee like that. That blows my mind. But so all over the US is the answer.
So I guess as of right now, in terms of what systems you're using, it's like, you're using Shopify, or I guess, what do you like about them and what do you not like about it?
I am using Shopify, you're right. I enjoy it a lot. I find it, I started by trying a few different tools. And the goal was not just to try them for the sake of trying them, but like I was trying to figure out the easiest possible way to start selling something online. And so I will not say that Shopify is the easiest way to get started. So I tried like Gumroad and was it Square, also at a Square site. I forgot, was it Weebly before? I forgot the name, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and a few other Webflow. I try to use Webflow to sell as well. And some of them are easier to get started, but definitely like when you proven a little bit of your model and you want to do something like quote unquote serious, Shopify is awesome for that. I have a software engineering background, and so I was able to kind of wrap my head around most of it, and that was not too difficult. It might not be the case for everybody. I don't know, but in my case, it's been really really good to get going. Like I am able now to like tweak things very quickly. It's kind of funny how like every time I will run into a challenge and think, oh, I wish I could do that. And there's usually a way that Shopify, like, either Shopify internally or maybe apps or themes or people have been thinking. There's a lot of people in the ecosystem. So there's usually a solution for what you're trying to do. And so for something at scale, this is definitely something I'm happy with right now.
So you mentioned that you have a software engineering background. So did you build the website all by yourself, or did you have outside help?
I started off with a theme. So I went and looked at the different options for Shopify themes. I got one. I got a paid theme to start with. It was not too expensive, but it was paid. And then I've been kind of tweaking it since then. So you have the ability to edit the code. And so I've been, every time I've wanted something that is not an option or something that I can customize, I just go in the code and just kind of change it. I'm should mention I'm the type of engineer who is very aware of the cost of each line. So if there is a way for me to not go in the code, I try not to. I'm not kind of trigger happy in going and changing a lot of the code, even though I know how to do it. I'm trying to keep it as limited as possible, but I have customized it.
That makes sense.
So, so that's the point where you utilized your software engineering in your business.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, and so after software engineering, I moved to product management for a few years and was head of product at a few startups. And that too is super helpful to have done product and project management when you run a company. Because as I was saying before, like the food aspect of it ended up being like there's such a huge amount of work to be done that is just beyond just the food, and it's a lot about project management. And so I've been able to use those skills hopefully as well.
I think there is something common in software engineers. Software engineers loves baking Probably because I'm also a software engineer. My degree is software engineering, and I have 15 years of development experience.
Nice.
So I started a side business of fast food. I started baking,
Yeah.
but I wasn't able to pursue it too much, but because I had to focus on my business. At one time, we have to completely focus on one business. So
Yeah.
I chose this software development. So I'm in software development, but yeah, I also have craze of baking. So
It might
probably
be
this is
because it might be because software engineers are kind of attracted to something more physical or tangible. You know, we deal with concept and theory for so much time, such a big part of the day that it's nice to like get your hands dirty in the dough and kind of do something physical a little bit. So that might be why. But I do agree with your point about like at some point you do have to focus. It's really hard. I try to like kind of do a little bit of both in tandem and not jump until you fully validate the idea. And there's a lot of literature about what you should do and should not do. I would say in my case there's definitely a point where like I had to jump and like take it very seriously, and otherwise it felt hard to make progress.
Yeah, things progress and get successful if you are serious about it, and you put your 100%, then obviously you can see the success for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a secret sauce, by the way.
Focus and yeah. That's true. You never know. Focus is interesting because you never know, you're like, everybody think they're focused, right? You never know how unfocused you are. It's similarly like everybody think they're a good driver, right? Like everybody think
Yeah.
they're above average driver, and it cannot be, right? So you most likely, even though we think we're focused, we probably are not. And until you get to a point where like you force yourself to be way more focused, you look back and feel like, oh, was really distracted and unfocused. And so I can only imagine what's going to be like in the future. And I'm going to look back at me now and be like, oh, wow, you were still very unfocused. And anyway, I agree with you. It's probably one of the key.
I guess in terms of also like next steps, are you bootstrapped? Or are you thinking about raising money? Like, what are like in terms of like like the next few years for Telegram cookies?
Yeah, I'm bootstrapped now, completely. I've tried to keep it to keep a very low budget. So it actually took me a while for the first few months. I really tried to do everything and not spend any money, like the website photography, the baking itself. Like I did not get any um kind of help both financially and in terms of contractors or things like that. I would say in the similar vein of like at some point you got to jump and take it very seriously. I had a little bit of switch in my head a little while ago, and it's like, okay, I do need to spend a little bit of money if I want to take it to the next level. And so I have been now spending a little bit of my own money into it. And so far I think that kind of switch has been very good for the business, but time will tell.
Are you cash flow positive now, or are you still burning?
No, I'm still burning. The profit, the cookies themselves are like unit economic point of view, like they make money every time I sell one, but I still have operating expenses that are obviously above what I'm currently making in profit. So I'm not there yet, but hopefully soon.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, kind of like we were talking about earlier. I mean, in B2B versus B2C. I mean, do you like see that your margins are higher when you sell to, in terms of B2B compared to B2C?
Um, the margin are not higher for B2B. If anything, they might be a little lower, but it brings more scale typically, which also in my business, because well, that's a separate thing, but because I allow people to write custom messages. So for that part, when it's purely custom and when people can pick the messages, the price is higher, and so I do make a higher margin based on that because it costs me more in terms of labor, obviously. But in general, going back to your question now, B2C is not that the margin are higher, it's more that the value of it is that it brings more scales, which is very important.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I don't have any more questions, but I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it was great learning about Telegram cookies, and we're excited to share this with our viewers. So
So thank you very much for having me and for like letting me tell the story a little bit. As I said, we're pretty early, so any opportunity we get to share the words, we're happy to do so.
yeah, it's exciting. It's very
That's
exciting, like on what you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck. And we're rooting for you. And hopefully, in a couple of years, it's going to be a huge company. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thanks, man. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.